What is up, peeps? Coach Kev here. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. I was cleaning up after dinner and getting some things situated here. But I have a pretty good show for you tonight. We're going to talk about serial killers or series killers. Why? The answer why. So you could ask a million whys, right? There's a million different things you could ask why. We'll try to cover as much as that we can. I'll answer as much as I can for you or try to point you to a resource to get an answer. But found some interesting stuff that I've never mentioned before. So we'll get into that. Let's say hello first. The wonderful Miranda. Thank you so much. A community leader. I appreciate that. I won the primary. We'll see what happens in November. But one of the things on the members only after this I'm going to show you is me talking to the school board because that's on YouTube. So I made a little clip of that for you guys. But I definitely appreciate it. Members only will start a little bit after we're done here. I think I have an 8 o'clock start time for that. So hope to see you guys there. I got stormed out last time. Our weather's been insane here. It's going to be the coldest June in Pennsylvania since 1967. And we've been getting a crazy amount of rain. Not necessarily my city, but like near us. We're not too far from West Virginia. They had some insane floods down there. Just some video of floods in Virginia. And what happened and there was an area today that we had flood watches today. There was places that got flooded. There was a Girl Scout camp that 150 people were trapped at. They couldn't get across the stream. So there was a bridge that washed away. So they were moving them with boats. We're waiting for it. They were okay. But they could not get out. They needed to get out, but emergency vehicles and all the boys and girls were there to help them get out. So, but there's been places around us that have gotten 4 inches of rain or 3.5 inches of rain in 30 to 45 minutes. And that's just insane. These big cells come up and they'll stop. So I'm not really sure what's going on with the weather, but I know that we've had a ton of rain here in June. One of these lives, I'm going to take you around and show you all Brooks plants. And if anyone in chat knows what a kohlrabi is, please comment yes if you like it or not. My grandpa used to plant them garden-wise before we get into the serial killer stuff. I live in a part of McKeesport called Christie Park. And sorry, that's the calls don't stop in this town. That's a fire call. But I'm not working today, so I'm not going. The kohlrabis are something that we grew as a kid, and everybody in their backyard had a garden, and everyone had a plastic salt and pepper shaker that they would keep on a table or something in the backyard, and you would take plants out of the garden, run them under the hose, put salt on them, and eat them. Talking onions, the green onions, kohlrabis. People did it with tomatoes. Not a big tomato guy myself, but so I'll show you everything. We had some great kohlrabis. We already ate some. They were fantastic. Jill, good to see you. What is up, Jinx? Good to see you as always. Ruckus, what's up, man? Great to see you. I'll be Frank. Always great to see you. Daily Survivor. How are you? Aurora, how are you? Good to see everybody. Teresa, good to see you. Thank you, Ruckus. Hit the like button. You have to listen to him because he's a cop. Rescue all the dogs. Also good to see you. Good to see all you guys. I talk to you sometimes in Discord. I do pop in and you'll see me like stuff and there's some funny shit in there. Thank you for coming. I do thank you for coming. I enjoy your post and your stuff. I hardly ever get to watch anyone's live anymore. Unfortunately, I try to pop in or sometimes I listen and I try to at least comment, but there's been a lot going on. Work's been absolutely fucking off the chain. We had a bar catch on fire. I was working in overtime, and a young lady got run over by a vehicle on a bike. We got there; she was still on the bike. We attempted life-saving measures, but it once she got run over by the vehicle, it was over. But you don't know that, so she's a 29-year-old girl. So there's been a lot in town going on. It's just been absolutely crazy. Phil Bond, good to see you. All right. All the peeps look like they're in here tonight for the most part. Hopefully some are listening in. But okay, tonight, again. No, good to see you. No, you're more than welcome in here. Just be respectful to everybody, and we're fine. if somebody has a problem with you and they're a moderator and they don't want you in, you're going to go. It is what it is. My friends are my friends. But if you're here to chat, then welcome. Louise, good to see you. All right. So, July the 4th, get married. We got our wedding bands. So that's exciting. We're going to put that on live on YouTube. I don't know if it's something people want to see or not, but a lot of Brooks family can't make it. Her brother lives in Philadelphia, and they're kind of scattered around, so it's good for them. Very small ceremony. Get married by my friend the mayor. But it should be something cool. It'll be about 11 a.m. on 4th of July. So after you watch the hot dog eating contest, Joey Chestnut's back, you can bet on that, the hot dog eating contest. Not that I bet on that much, but it's interesting. So, okay, talking about serial killers, we know that the term came about in 1970, 1971. Robert Ressler is credited for it. He worked with John Douglas and with Dr. Ann Burgess. The Behavioral Science Unit, which became the BAU now, the Behavioral Analysis Unit, kind of morphed into that. And they were looking for a term, and serial killer. They use series killer a lot. So you'll hear me say that a lot from reading books and stuff like that. I encourage you to read any John Douglas book that you can find. It's fantastic. Robert Ressler, Dr. Ann Burgess. These people's, their brains are 10 times the size as mine. And they figured this out, and they're able to predict human behavior. And from this, it spawned off into all kind of stuff. So now you have people, talking to world leaders and things like that. I'm sure that there's people right now in the White House with everything that's going on in Iran, in Israel and everything like that, that they're profiling these leaders and they're guessing what they're going to do. We think Netanyahu's going to do this, or we think that's that or whatever. So that's where we are. So I think it'll be very interesting. I do. But I think those things are going on behind the scene. But where did this come from? So this is something that I discovered recently. So you hear these myths, right? They had the Wolf Man and these stories from the 16, 15, 1700s. And what is thought now is that a lot of this is believed to be actually serial killers that were doing these things. And it wasn't a wolf man, but it was an easy way to explain, like, who can do this? A human being, there's no way they can do this. So they said it was a wolf man or a vampire. Vlad the Impaler, I don't know if you know that story. Vlad the Impaler probably wasn't a vampire, but he was a crazy motherfucker. He would put people's heads on pikes around his castle as if to say, don't fuck with me. But he wasn't necessarily a vampire, but he was confused. You considered that, and kind of like, almost the basis, some would argue, for Dracula, for the novel Dracula. So we'll see. But it's very interesting. So I thought that was interesting. So I'm going to show you, I have some good slides to show you. CJ, I don't know if he drank their blood. Well, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say I don't know if he drank their blood. I don't think he drank their blood. If he did it, it was a show of control. He didn't enjoy drinking blood. Like the guy that was from California that was drinking blood, the San Jose Vampire. God, I wish I had his name in my head. Someone here will put it in. But he actually killed people and drank blood because he thought it was going to stop earthquakes in California. And he believed that. He was disorganized serial killer, right? His name was Richard something. I can't remember. Yeah, so that's a way to, to take total control of people. Another thing that guys used to do, we're going way back, is they would actually SA other men in armies and things like that. And that was a way like to exert some kind of crazy control. And I don't understand that. And I'm actually happy that I don't understand that. But these things were done over time. So it just makes you wonder. You hear these stories about werewolves. Maybe was there real werewolves running around? I don't know. With society anymore, anything is absolutely possible. But I'm more to likely think this was some sick fucking person running around and doing these things. So opening up, why do they become killers? You know what I believe, what Jim Clemente believes, the former FBI profiler, John Douglas 2.0, or John Douglas Jr., as they call him. And I believe that it's nature and nurture together, right? Genetics loads the gun. Your life experience or your psychology points the gun. Your life experiences pull the trigger. Yeah, Frank, SA other men. Yes. probably as late as World War II, maybe even Vietnam. You could find stories about that, and it was a way to exert control, and it was a way to scare other people. Oh shit! If we get caught, these crazy son of bitches are going to do this to us. So, but again, how does that get in your head? That, like, I want to win this war, but like, we ain't doing that shit. What are you going to do? So you talk about their experiences growing up, and we always talk about mom, relationship with mom. If mom was overbearing, if mom humiliated the child, if there was a hypersexuality between the child and the mother. Gary Ridgway talks about being 12 years old, and Gary Ridgway used to wet the bed, right? Uresis. We talk about that. A lot of these guys have had that too. They wet the bed later in life, or they become potty trained and then wet the bed after that. It is also a sign sometimes of sexual abuse. So you can wrap that up. And if you have a kid that doesn't have an issue and begins wetting the bed later, they really need to talk to somebody like as soon as you can get them to talk to them. I guess it could be just a medical thing. They do happen, but it's a very early warning sign of things that might be happening, or I'm not, what's up, Melissa? Good to see you. So Gary Ridgway's in a bathtub. His mom would purposely bathe him to embarrass him. And at one point her robe opened up, and he said at that point he wanted to have sex with his mother and kill her at the same time. This is at 12 years old. He's having these thoughts. Gary Ridgway went on to, I think, be convicted of around 25 or 30, but his count's probably a lot higher than that. He hated women. He went after women. Rex Heuermann, not convicted yet, but doesn't look good for that big ogre. Had an issue with his mother. All these things. It can almost always go back to that. Everyone talks about Ted Bundy. Well, Ted Bundy had a good family life, a good relationship with his mother. As far as we know, it was nothing crazy. He was a smart kid. He did kill animals as a kid. He talked about that. And some say that he found out that his grandfather was his father at a formidable age, probably prepubescent. So you're talking 10 to 12 possibly, and that can throw you off. But he hated his mother, and he killed women that looked like the girl that he dated for the longest time. He had a good relationship with her. I think they were even engaged. She had a daughter. He was really good to her. And whatever happened there happened. I've heard different things that this is what happened, but they broke up. He would look for the girls with dark hair with the part in the middle. We know that. Hey, JJ, good to see you. We know that Ed Kemper, the big giant guy, right, from UC Santa Cruz, his mom worked there. He killed a bunch of women because he wanted to kill his mom. And once he killed his mom, he actually turned himself into the police. And he did terrible things to his mom's corpse, beheaded her, put her vocal cords down the garbage disposal, which is symbolic because she used to always, be on top of him. She would keep him down in the basement and afraid to do things with his sisters. He would cut apart their Barbie dolls. He said that in the second or third grade, he told his sister that he had a crush on his teacher and he wanted to kiss her, but if he kissed her, he'd have to kill her. This is a second grader thinking this way. Something is wrong already, right? And then, Ed, he was an organized killer. He would use a ruse where he would pull up and the girl would be there. And this is after they know that someone's, taking hitchhikers off the road and killing them, women, young co-eds. He was called the co-ed killer. So even though they know that someone's doing this, they would still get in the car with him. He would pull up, and what he would do is he'd look at his watch and be like, all right, hurry up. I have a couple minutes. And if you remember the old car doors, they used to like squeeze it together to open it. He'd put a tube of chapstick or a tube of something in there so they couldn't close the door. They wouldn't know or open the door. They wouldn't know that until they tried to open the door. And he went on. He's been, from what everyone can tell, a perfect inmate since then. Since he killed his mother, he almost became normal. Think about how crazy that is. Now, he had a long checkered past and everything like that, but it just is what it is. They usually have some kind of psychopathy. When you think of psychopathy, Norman Bates, right? Mom, I'm going to act like mom. He was like, whoever wrote that, I think, or Hitchcock wrote that, but I think he had help from some people that actually were around real killers. I don't know the story. I'm not a big Hitchcock fan. An antisocial personality disorder. Antisocial personality disorder is huge. It's absolutely huge. They have trouble getting along with people. There's just something there. Maybe they can and they can act like they're empathetic, but there's no empathy. They don't feel bad for anybody. So the anti-personality disorder is really, really big, really, really big. So keeping that, they have no impulse control. They don't have empathy. They act like they have empathy. We talked about mom neglect, whether it's food. Richard Ramirez ate horribly. He ate probably a half pound of sugar every day. He ate candy. One of the reasons he had bad teeth and bad breath. Head injuries, right? Richard Ramirez had a head injury to the frontal lobe, temporal frontal lobe. Gacy, a lot of these guys had head injuries. So it's not one thing. All these things have to line up, right? All these cosmic tumblers have to align for a person to be this way. But once they get that way, you can't bring them back. There's no saving them. They have to be either killed or put in jail forever, because they will tell you if they go back out again, they have that impulse. They tried all kind of different things with different people. People agreed to try this and try that. You know, Whitey Bulger took acid, and I wouldn't call him a serial killer because maybe he liked to kill later on, but initially he killed for money. He killed for property, for, you know, whatever it is that you want to call it, his turf or whatever. I'm talking about people that are just killing just to, because they're getting off on it, and they actually need to. It's like a drug. It's a compulsion with them. Okay. Poor died as a youth, abused both physically and psychologically, especially if it's from mom. If mom's psychologically abusing you, you're going to have a hard time with that. Any guy is. The rejection from mom's worse than rejection from dad. I've had rejection from dad, right? I never knew my real dad, but I had a stepdad, but I hated him for a long time, but now I've forgiven him. I get he was struggling, right? He was a drug addict, and, you know, it is what it is. Radford did a study years back. They said 68% of serial killers were abused. I've seen other studies as high as 90 or 95% where they've claimed some type of abuse. Now, the other thing with these guys and gals is they're lying pieces of shit. So they don't always tell you the truth. Some guys do, some don't. So you're really not sure. They always want to make someone feel bad for them. And again, especially psychologically abused by mom. They have all the other things line up. They hate women. They are killing proxies instead of their mother because they can't do it, or eventually they do it, like Ed Kemper, and that leaves it there. So let me show you some slides here on some things I have. I have a bunch of stuff to show you today. We'll kind of jump around, and I'm going to explain to you so everybody understands the difference between organized and unorganized when we talk about serial killing. This goes for men or women. It does not make a difference. So let's make sure we get this up here. Excellent. Make this a little bigger for you guys. So these are charts. You could find these. You could search these. Search serial killer organized versus disorganized. Look at it. Do an image search, and you could find charts and things like this. So crime characteristic. These are the things that happen with the crime. And then you have organized versus disorganized. So if you see a body, if the body's disfigured, there's a good chance it's disorganized, not always, but if it's hidden, it's organized, almost always. I think that's why these things are in yellow here, because this is like almost like a guarantee that if organized or disorganized are doing this. Sex with the victim, disorganized after death, and organized before, completes the act. Unsuccessful, disorganized. Doesn't mean they always are, but organized is successful. Weapons found at the scene if they're disorganized, obviously. If they're organized, what that means is they find a weapon and use a weapon at the scene. The organized means they bring weapons with them. And we'll talk about how organized killers become to be disorganized, like Ted Bundy did. Ted Bundy used to bring rope. He used to put his arm in Paris or plaster of Paris, things like that, all the way till Chi Omega, when he picked up a big stick or a log outside. And that after the Chi Omega, he went to another place and he was just picking things up. So he was driven by compulsion. He was also drunk. He was an alcoholic. You don't hear that a lot. Most of these people, when I say most, it's certainly over 50%, probably closer to 60 to 70, have alcohol or drug issues. And a lot of it's alcohol. That's organized and disorganized. Viciousness, disorganized is going to torture. Organized is going to be quick. Sophistication, obviously low in the disorganized. High, they learn and organize. They get better. BTK. First time he went in the Otero house, he encountered a bunch of people he didn't expect to encounter. He adapted, overcame, and he got better. Rex Huerman, again, not convicted guilty yet, but he looks pretty guilty. He had a spreadsheet, and he said what to do next time, things like that, changes that were made. Totem or a token, not taken. Organized killers are going to take it. They can relive in that moment, in that little token, the way it feels, the way it smells. Remember, we talk about PTSD. Your olfactory is hooked up to your memory, so that kind of makes sense. Follows new crime. Disorganized probably doesn't. Organized, absolutely they do. They'll play games with the media and police sometimes too. Disorganized victim is high risk. Organized is low risk. That is in consideration to the killer. High risk victim. He's grabbing someone off the street in broad daylight is high risk. Low risk victim for an organized, even though they usually don't know them personally, they stalk them, they watch them, they know during this 5 or 10 minutes they're by themselves. Gets to crime, disorganized walking or a bus, yeah, organized or taking a car. Residents, disorganized are going to kill close to their home, organized are going to kill further away. Look at Israel Keys. He buried kill kits years before. He was from Alaska, and he was burying kill kits like in the New England area. IQ less than intelligent, organized intelligent employment, meanie or none. Organized, they're going to have a normal job. There might be a fire here. It's just been absolutely nuts. Oh, that's just a fire alarm. 3 fire alarms going on at the same time. Maybe power went out downtown. Hopefully it didn't go out here. Social, they're loner. Outgoing if they're organized. And the organized people are almost always married or have a girlfriend. So when they put out these profiles, like they put out the Huerman profile, we never saw the actual FBI one, but we saw Jim Clemente's, we saw John Kelly's, which are probably going to be almost always in line with the FBI ones. And what they say is they knew right away that he was married because he was an organized killer. So these are the things that you find out. Anger, the disorganized killer keeps it inside. Organized acts out and bullies people. Rex Huerman, birth order, low, high. So what does that mean? Birth order. So if the birth order is low, they're a younger kid. If it's high, they're an older kid. So we're seeing organized. It's a joke that your mom's first kid's your smartest kid. And I always say that because I am, but there's something to it. Habits, nighttime, daytime, childhood discipline. They were probably, beaten pretty well. Whoops. I'm trying to make that a little bit bigger for you. And father's work, unstable, stable. So it all kind of makes sense if you think about it. So that's just a general chart. Not 100%, never 100%, but it's a pretty good guide. If you're wondering, if you're following the case and say, is this person organized or disorganized? Once you can figure that out, then you can start walking down other paths and see where it takes you. 3 kinds of killers. We got organized, disorganized, and mixed. I talked about Ted Bundy being a mix later on. Organized, loner by choice, little to no evidence. So if they're a loner, it's by choice, not because they can't get a girl. Solid job history, personalized victims. They're very confident. They're the hardest serial killer to apprehend. The disorganized killers, those are the people that run down the street naked, covered in blood. So they're easy to grab. So usually the organized killer is caught. Now, there's been cases where there's been some really, really bad police work where they should have caught somebody. Jeffrey Dahmer, for instance, a disorganized killer. Loner by default leaves evidence behind, poor job history, depersonalized victim, blitz attack, lacks confidence. A killer who kills where his heart desires. So if you would talk Delphi, Richard Allen, I think Richard Allen's a combination of the two. He took weapons with him to the trail, whether he carried them every day or not, I don't know. But he had that gun with him, and it was a blitz attack. So if you have these blitz attacks, it's usually disorganized. The only time that isn't true is with an organized killer. There's usually 3 crime scenes, right? There's the abduction site, the murder site, and the dump site. So there could be a blitz attack where they grab them and take them somewhere else. But if there's a blitz attack and they kill the person right there, they're going to be disorganized. Many have domestic issues. This is the mixed. Loner, reclusive, may return to crime scene. Ted Bundy, right? He was the first person that we knew that would go back there and practice necrophilia. He would put makeup on the girls and do their hair. Talk about how sick he was. Usually organized, but the rush and thrill for the kill trumps the planning and preparation. So the organized killer, it's the whole lead up, the whole process, the lead up. the kill is like a byproduct, right? It's not the main thing. Some people just like to kill, they get their jollies off of that. So, the rush, the thrill for the kill trumps the planning and preparation. So that's the difference. One of the big differences with mixed when you look at organized and disorganized, and there's different things there to look at. This is a really cool slide. I don't know how good it's going to show up here though. It talks about the different kind. This is John Douglas talks about this, the disorganized killer, the medical killer, the mission-oriented killer, the power-oriented killer. And if you guys, it's probably not really great to see the visionary, the hedonist, but within the spectrum of disorganized and organized, there is others. This isn't a good slide. I'll find a better slide and share it out. You can read this like on your phone and stuff that I could. But he talks about all the different things, and he gives you examples of who was each. Again, a case that was all what we got here. That was, obviously close to our hearts. Delphi. We talk about the press conference, and it was a direct talking to of a sexual sadistic killer, whether they were serial or not, whatever the FBI thought at the time. But no one's ever told me that for sure. But I bet the house they were talking to a profile. They weren't talking. They didn't know Richard Allen. They weren't talking to another suspect that they might have had at the time. So we got more we talk a little about organized and disorganized here. We'll get into it a little bit more. We'll be a little quicker. Yeah, I watched Pat Brown's show on that too. Before we knew Richard Allen, before we knew any of it, to me, everything I watch and check out, it led me to believe that with the minimal information that we got really minimal information initially. But as far as anything else that he has done, I don't know of any of that. And they say, killer, the age is started at a certain age. It's not always, but usually it is. And they do age out. Gary D'Angelo aged out, right? The Golden State Killer. Anyways, organized, highly intelligent, plans crimes, kills victims, disposes of them in another, lure by appealing to their human nature. Bundy's plaster cast, police badge, human nature, right? They're taking advantage of that. Organized serial killers would make some of the best profilers there are. They just have something in them. It's a way that they've coped. It's the way that they've survived their whole life. They maintain a high degree of control over the crime scene. They are control freaks. BTK, control freak. His daughter talks about one time dropping a bowl of spaghetti on the floor. He's never seen her dad yell, but all this red spaghetti sauce was on the floor, and he absolutely lost his shit for about 10 or 15 seconds. And then she said it almost looked like he stepped back into himself and realized, whoa, what am I doing? She theorized that was like seeing blood on the floor. And he never wanted to leave blood on the floor. He was what John Douglas calls, if you remember the word I always use, fastidious. Fastidious. Maintain high degree knowledge of forensic sciences, which enables them to cover their track. Those are the forensic countermeasures. There's a difference between forensic countermeasures and undoing. Undoing is something that someone feels bad about. They'll cover them up. Usually they know the person if they do that. Again, go back to Delphi. Covering the bodies was a forensic countermeasure, in my opinion. The Lindbergh baby, when they found the Lindbergh baby on the side of the road, was not covered, was just laying there. They didn't know the baby. If someone, does something to their own kid, they're going to cover them up. They're going to try to leave them looking peaceful, and that's for the own person themselves to feel better. Because there's some remorse, there's something there. Closely follows crimes in the media, taking great pride in their accomplishments. Again, smartest guy in the room situation. They're gonna have articles probably and different things like that. Usually socially adequate with close friends, lovers, spouses, and children. We talked about that. So your organized killers are almost always married or has somebody in them. Yes, a great example, Ruckus. One of the things with Rex Heuermann that really fucks me up a little bit is how fastidious he was. And I don't know if that's how you spell it. JJ, I know how to say it, but I don't know how to spell it. That's how it sounds. Fastidious. He was a crazy organized guy, right? But his house looked like shit. So I never understood that. If you went in BTK's house, it was meticulous. Yard, everything's meticulous. So that's something interesting with Huerman there. But he had his list. I mean, he put out Google like document sheets of these things. Organized versus disorganized. Some of these things are rehashing. Bodies hidden, weapon removed from the scene, appears to be well planned. Victim is specifically targeted. Restraints often used. Aggressions takes place before death. That's an organized scene, right? The restraints, you hear about that being organized. Usually they have to bring them with them. So that's a good sign of organization. Maybe you could grab something from the house, or belt or something like that, but usually the restraints are brought with them. Disorganized, they're socially immature, they may know their victims. They still kill spontaneously, and they've had harsh childhood discipline. They were getting beat, whether they deserved it or not. Typical behaviors, they live alone. They know the victim. There's going to be a sloppy crime scene. Evidence will be present. Shows no interest in the media and doesn't change their lifestyle as a result of the killing. They're easier to catch than organized killer. They're not going to change things, right? They're just going to stay the same, because it's almost like they don't even know any better. They don't know or care. Disorganized killers don't have empathy either, but the organized ones at least act like that they have empathy. They pretend that they care. Organized is usually happily employed. So you see these same things keep coming. They have cars or trucks, married with children. Also, the people are well thought of in the community, and that's why they're so hard to catch. So I'm working, I shouldn't say working, but trying to investigate. One of the ones I talked about, Kimmy Krim, talking to her sister. She's talking to a county detective, and it's who knows where it's going to go. But one of the last people that saw her was I would say somebody that's well thought of in the community. Doesn't mean that he did it or anything like that, but I just want to talk to someone that ruled him out and why they ruled him out. Intelligent, IQ rating between 110 and 120. They planned their crimes methodically. Some of these guys were up at like 130, like almost genius level. I don't think Bundy was. I think that was kind of blown out of proportion, because he was a good-looking guy. He was a lawyer. You can't trust too many lawyers, right? But he was good. He would have been a really good lawyer. Maintain a high degree of control. Control. When you hear control, it's usually organized. But control is one of the reasons that a lot of people kill. They want to have control. They'll abduct their victims. They tend to follow their crimes closely. See, we were seeing the same thing described as nice guys. They lead double lives, or what's called compartmentalization. So they can go kill somebody and then go to a family barbecue like it's absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. We looked at that one already. FBI, we talk about it, reflects killers' emotion, psychology. Significant number of serial killers show certain aspects of both. And here's the bottom. This is Ted Bundy, descended from organized to disorganized, and killing continues. To need to feed compulsion. Compulsion, it's almost like a drug addict. They need a shot of heroin. They need to hit the crack pipe or whatever. Well, thank you, Jinx. Awesome as always. See if anybody got any questions or anything. All right. We're at 33 minutes. Again, you see, I'm sharing these just to like harp on, like this is like a science. It's figured out now. So these are the things that you can look at. So again, if there's a case you're covering, if it's something in the news, if it's something local, and you wonder, like, they found a lot of evidence, but they just couldn't find it. Like the cops are just missing something maybe. But if there's like nothing was found, it's very, odd that you'd think you'd find X, Y, and Z, but you didn't. Offense plan, victim targeted stranger, not 100%. BTK killed one lady that he knew. It was a little close. It wasn't a compulsion thing, but it was him about being so smart. He's right under the cops' noses, right? And if he wouldn't have sent that last letter in the early 2000s, they never would have caught him. Controlled conversation, crime scene reflects overall control, demands submissive victim. So when you get to these crime scenes, they're able to tell. It's not a chaotic. It doesn't look like what you saw in Helter Skelter, supposedly, when they were trying to start a war. And it was just chaos everywhere. There was an American flag, or someone had rope around them, and people were butchered and stabbed. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be very controlled, and it's almost like a clinical killing. That's a bad way to put it. They may use restraints. They're going to hide the body, and they hide the body. Eventually the body's going to be found, but they want to create distance from themselves and the scene. talk about disorganized. Typically, the disorganized offender is preoccupied with recurring excessive thoughts, seems confused, distressed at the time of the crime. Again, we talked about the vampire of San Jose out there, where he thought that if he drank blood, that earthquakes would stop. And he really believed that because he was just a crazy son of a bitch. Fearful of people and has developed a highly defined delusional system, acts impulsively under stress, is below average intelligence, has a poor history of work, frequently lives alone or with parental figures, and lives in close proximity to the site of the murders. They're not doing a lot of traveling. Why? Because they don't have a car. Is socially inadequate and often incompetent sexually, may have pronounced sexual aversions, which is some, sick kink, if you will, is basically what we're talking about there. We have some images here now of some different things. Again, this is the same. I don't know if I showed you guys this slide or not yet, but it's basically the same thing. Disorganized Dahmer. Dahmer should have been caught so many years. It was absolutely wild, the shit that would happen. And it was because he was gay, and the police called it lovers' quarrels back then. I don't know. He was very calm, too, when he talked to them. He wasn't, like, freaking out. Like, he didn't give a fuck if he got caught. He really didn't care. And usually if someone just killed someone, they're going to be, the cops are going to be able to tell, You ever hear about the felony stretch? My brother used to tell me about this and other cops. The guy's talking to the cops, he starts stretching. That's a primal instinct. He's looking for a way to run. They used to call it the felony stretch because when you run from a cop, it's a felony, right? So they start stretching, but your body's literally stretching, preparing to run. The Chris Watts interview is great. He's looking around. His eyes are darting around. And they're not looking for windows and doors. They're actually looking for places to escape that because he knows he's fucked. He killed his family, and he knows that the cop knows, and he knows that the neighbor standing there knows. Because you could look at the neighbor's reaction to him, and he's like, this ain't adding up, dude. What did you do? But there's certain things that we cannot hide. So after the killing, one of the best quotes that I ever heard to help me understand this is serial killers walk at nighttime. Say they're walking down the street, and there's a light pole about every, 100 feet. So picture this. When they're underneath the shine of that light, that's when they're committing their acts. That's when they're committing their kills. Now they got to walk to the next light pole. So when they just leave this light pole here, and they're going this way, they're okay. The further away they get, the more I got to kill again. I need that light. Boom, they're cast back in that light. They're okay for a while. And we've seen different people take years off, days apart, weeks apart. Richard Ramirez was one of the guys. Someone commented that they were scared. As a kid, he was like the boogeyman, like type guy to me, just because of the age I was whenever he was committing his acts. And he would there was a couple times where he did two in a night. One was a failed kill, but the other time he couldn't complete his act, this organized killer. So it made him mad. So he went and tried to commit the act on someone else that night. Here's a cool little thing that talks about, organized and disorganized. Now, again, we talked about Ted Bundy. He certainly was organized early on, right? He took all his stuff with him. Ted Bundy, supposedly normal family life. However, his grandpap or his father, maybe he was both, was supposed to be a real stern disciplinarian. Ted Bundy was a very sick individual. He got off on everything about it. The preparation, the killing itself, the torture, things like that. And again, he was killing his fiance that was the only probably real true love he felt in his life, her and her daughter. And on all accounts, he was a great stepdad to the kid. He didn't do anything to her, anything like that. He was looking for a girl with the hair parted, and he was taking it out on her. But as you see, it's the same things over and over and over again. But here are some quotes, okay? On the left, Richard Ramirez. On the right, Ted Bundy. Richard Ramirez, I think most humans have in them the capacity to commit murder. They choose not to because they're morally superior, and as so they commonly claim. But because they are imprisoned in a world of responsibilities, commitments, beliefs, and statements, killing is killing, whether done for duty, profit, or fun. And then this guy, he seems to flatter himself to some kind of rock star outlaw. He's just making excuses. He had a cousin who came back from Vietnam and made some atrocious acts over there. And he was sent over there as a kid. So they're not judging him. I don't know what happened over there, right? Would not be quick to blame anyone for anything they did over there because it's war and you're an 18-year-old kid. So I don't know. But when he came back, he ended up shooting his wife in the head. Richard Ramirez was so close, some of the blood got on him. But he would show pornographic images of Vietnamese women and things that they did to them. And Richard started immediately associating violence and sex at a very young age. That's something else that these guys and gals did. They put sex and violence, and it almost has to come together. You can't have one without the other. Some Ted Bundy quotes: you feel your last bit of breath leaving or their body. You're looking in the eyes of a person in that situation is God. That tells you all you need to know about Ted Bundy. Power, sexually sadistic power. Okay, you got the indictment. That's all you're going to get. I'll plead not guilty right now. If you ever saw the video, he comes out of the elevator, and that old sheriff from Florida, I forget what his name was, but big, tall, good-looking guy, cowboy hat, cowboy boots, slick back hair. And he handed him the indictment as he come out of the elevator. He jumped him. Basically, he knew it was going to happen. And Bundy, the fucking camera's rolling, and Bundy just can't shut the fuck up. The judge, the Bundy, and you saw this if you watched the documentary or anything on Ted Bundy. You'd have made a good lawyer, and I would have loved to have you practice in front of me, but you went another way, partner. And that was Judge Edward Cowart, the guy who sentenced Bundy to the electric chair. Mashad and Ainsworth were two people that did interview. I think they were the interviewers, not attorneys. Took meticulous care with his appearance and dressed with a casual, studied tweedness. So Ted Bundy, basically what they're saying in there is he dressed like a nerd. But he was an attorney. He was an educated guy, and he was a very charismatic guy. He was good looking. A lot of the women would go there and like look at him, and they were, I don't know if I should be scared of him or not, but it's a weird thing. There's a name for that. I can't remember what it is, but for women who chase serial killers. What's up, CJ? I hope not. But I tell you what, a lot of the people that are doing the crimes are watching YouTube. Huerman, we don't know if he commented, but Huerman did. What's up, David? Good to see you. Yeah, I just put a thing up this morning to do it. His life insurance policy is meager. Yeah, check out Frank has some really good stuff. He likes to get in there and mix it up, and it's entertaining's entertaining. I'm always entertained. Everybody's always watching Frank. Or Buddy from across the pond. A few more slides here to show you. And I started doing this. I don't know if I did it in my last live or members only, but I have some funny things that I want to show you at the end. I have one for this, and I have one for the members only too. And they're just absolutely random, goofy memes. And some of them are political memes, but I promise to make fun of both political sides. You always have my word on that. I'm making fun of everybody. Cool. You got air conditioning. When you have air conditioning, had air conditioning put in last week. This is an older home, and just in time, like I said, it's been a cold June, but humidity is kicking butt, and it makes me sweat. I'm a champion sweater. Make no mistake about that. Let me make sure I got the right one here. Sorry about that. But it makes my body feel good, the arthritis. I have arthritis in my ankle, my lower back, my neck. I have spinal stenosis, and I have bone spurs in my neck too. But at the end of the day, you know what? Giving up gluten, I don't know why this keeps happening. Giving up gluten helped with the pain relief too, and obviously so does pot. Not just smoking it, but the creams and stuff. Okay, so these are BTK knots. He tied these knots ahead of time, very specific. Then he would tie the other end on them. One of the pictures you're going to see, it's a bottom picture of the girl that he was attracted to, the Otera girl, the young girl, and he hung her from a drain, from a pipe in the basement. If you have an older home, and not even an older home, they're cast iron, they're probably plastic in newer homes, but like when you flush the toilet in the shower and all that comes down, you'll see like a Y in the top. It's where he ends up taking her from. But these were left at the scene. So it's a Venetian blind cord. It was probably cut from a well-used blind. It wasn't from the home. Now remember, BTK did installs, alarm system installs in people's houses. What better cover than that, right? He knew alarms, he knew codes, he knew different things like that. There he is. There's BTK, Dennis Rader. He was a deacon of some sort at his church. That's how he got caught when he sent the cops an email, or I was going to send him a floppy disk with pictures and stuff on it. Promise me you can't identify me. And the cops said, we promise. And then they identified with him. Ain't no rules for people like that. There, of course, Ted Bundy. We all know what Ted Bundy looks like. The interesting thing about Ted Bundy is you could see 5 different pictures of Ted Bundy, and he could look like 5 different people. There is the pipe. There's the bottom of where the Terror Girl is. Those are the knots that we saw earlier. Very specific knots. And as we talk about knots, one of the things with the West Memphis 3 case, Burn After Reading has done a really, really good job. He had one of the boys' stepfathers, Mr. Hobbs, on. And I probably don't share all the same feeling that Burn After Reading does about West Memphis 3, but he's done some great shows on it, and it just makes me think there was 3 different knots tied on the boys. So BTK ties people up. They're all the same knots. It doesn't mean that someone could have tied 3 different knots, but to me, if you're using a knot like that in a situation that's that critical, that this can't come untied, because if this comes untied, I'm going to get caught, blah, 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 whatever, you're going to tie your best knot. If I need to tie something off of myself and go hanging out of a building, I know what knot we're supposed to use. I'm not that great at tying it. So it might be a figure 8 on a bike because I'm really good at that. I know that knot is not going to come undone. It might hurt me as I go out the window, but so think of it that way. There's a picture of BTK. So what would he do? This is him on the left and on the right. He would take pictures of himself tied up. And he was into the autoerotic asphyxiation thing where you almost choke and pass out and then you do your thing. Not my thing, not illegal. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But he would actually take pictures in the women's clothes, and he had these masks. If you watch Mindhunter, the wife catches him the one time. He's hanging himself from a doorknob. There people have died from this accidentally, but he was into ligatures, right? We just talked about ligatures. He'd bring his own specific knots. Clearly an organized killer. These were the people that he killed. You see the whole Otero family was there that day. I think it was Joseph that got out. And then, no, actually it was an older brother. These were his actual victims. Dolores was a lady that lived in his neighborhood, an older lady. But so he didn't want, this is a former Marine, retired Marine. He was a professional ass kicker. He was an older guy at the time. He was going after her. So he learned after that, he did better scouting and better surveillance for himself. So he didn't have that problem again. He would always use too much postage too. I never heard why. I never heard his explanation. I was always curious at that, but he would always use too much postage. The Zodiac did the same thing. So is that a shout out to the Zodiac? I don't have any idea, but these are the things that this is the package actually that got him caught. One of the packages that got him caught. I don't know if the floppy disk was in there or not. Those of you that are young that are watching this, I don't know how many you are. Floppy disk is something that us old people used to use to store information on and take it out of a computer. And if you would go like this, it was a big black floppy. I don't know, it was some kind of plastic or whatever. Top left, Ted Bundy, David Berkowitz, Son of Sam, Jeffrey Dahmer, The Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, John Wayne Gacy, Dennis Rader, Ed Kemper, and Gary Ridgway are I didn't make this picture, it's someone else's, but they're people that I probably know, I would say the most about in my studies of people. And that's based on like what John Douglas talked to. I don't know if he personally talked to each and every one of these, but somebody from there certainly talked to every person there. He certainly talked to Bundy, certainly talked to Gacy. He certainly talked to the old nut from New York City up there, Berkowitz, and they talked to Kemper, and I would assume they talked to Rader. They were going to do a third season of Mindhunter, but they didn't because they couldn't. They were leading up to the capture of Dennis Rader. There he is again. He looks like an old deputy chief in the fire department. He retired a while ago. This kit here, this is something. This was actually from Ted Bundy's car. This was taken from Ted Bundy's car. This was not BTK's car. This was Ted Bundy's car. And this is in Florida when he gets pulled over. But just one thing that struck me about this, right? He has trash bag, ligature, ski mask. He has 2 different gloves. Early on, Ted Bundy would have had 2 of the same gloves. And it's not a forensic countermeasure or anything like that. It's just a desperation. It's a desperation, as I think what it is. So alcohol also helped him go down the tubes because he was a drunk. Okay, we got all those. Let's see. We got any comments? I'm gonna show you some funny stuff then from my files, so we could check them out. I'm gonna pop out of here in a few minutes, and then if you remember, 8:00, we're gonna redo or finish off the members only that we had, where I got taken out by one of our storms that we've been having. Sweat like Jimmy Swaggart in a hotel parking lot. There's a Cheers episode. Norm just died. I talked about that before. But where they're talking about, I think it's the first season. Actually, I think it's whenever Diane, what was that guy's name? Sumner brought her into the bar. So it might have been like really, maybe the first episode even. And they were having an argument. What was the sweatiest movie ever? And Cool Hand Luke was brought up. I forget what else. But they had and this guy Sumner comes in and he's a professor. And she's like, "Oh, thank God you came back there having an argument about the sweatiest movie ever." And then that's when Sumner's like, "Oh, Cool Hand Luke." And every guy's like, "Oh." So, yeah, I'm definitely a champion sweater. I'm okay with that. In male changing rooms. As long as he ain't fitting nobody in there, you do what you will. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Paulie Walnuts. Good to see you. Yeah, that's a wild story. I wonder how he probably was able to explain that, though. You know what I mean? He was probably able to explain that. Teddy. That was Berkowitz. You think Teddy looks like Berkowitz? Uh-oh. Hopefully no power loss today. But anyways, let me show you the funny stuff now. We talked about a whole bunch of crazy shit. If you watch this video later, if you have questions, I'll do my best to answer from what I know. But if not, I could definitely set you on the right page for a resource to answer your questions. And again, it's the mental stuff. It's how these folks are made. They're not born. I'm convinced of that. You're not born a killer. You might have the capacity to be a killer. You also might have the capacity to be the CEO of a company or a really good Navy SEAL. But your moral compass is just a tick off of these others or things like that. But I just find it's incredibly, incredibly interesting. That's so what brought me into YouTube initially was that. So I have two funny things. I'll give you the first one. These are just random funny memes that I found that I'd like to share with you. We talk about some wild shit, right? So let's laugh at some funny shit. Who knows he'd like to solve the puzzle? Do you know who this guy is? He just so happens to have an Indiana sweatshirt on. So this guy's been known to, I guess you could call video bomb news people or troll news people and stuff like that. If you get the joke, you get the joke. He has many different YouTube appearances. So if you know who that is, you'll get the joke. I do this. I must admit it. Brooke told me that. Me when I know I'm right about something. Oh, again, funny meme. Leave you with some laughter here. This is just funny. I know people talk about being malicious, and listen, I'm all for. I think politically, you want to own 100 guns. You want to buy a tank and put it in your yard. It's your yard. As long as you don't do nothing illegal with it. But I always thought this was funny. So this is obviously a left-wing person with this sign, and it's Chief Ralph Wiggins' son from The Simpsons. I think just funny's funny. And I have all across the aisle memes because usually I just come for the memes. These are just a bunch of funny heads that are used in memes, and there's a crying Jordan face. If you guys ever know what that is, it's not really a good one here, but this is the Crying Jordan. So there's a whole page dedicated to this on Facebook. So this is the original Dream Team, and they just put funny people's faces on it. And I just think it's absolutely random and hilarious. Crying Jordan, Sanford, Crying LeBron. This is Denzel Washington when he had the crazy teeth. I don't know if that's Rick Ross. Tiger Woods mugshot photo, but with like an Island Boys haircut. Cuba Gooding playing radio. President Trump as Chuck Daly. There's the high Michael Jordan face. He was getting out of a cab, stoned to the bejesus. Bill Cosby. Again, Bill Cosby. Sammy Sosa when he turned white, and he did. And this was the guy, Maine, from, what was that movie? Hustle and Flow. It's hard out here for a pimp. So these are the things that that's been in my phone since like 2018. Every time I look at it, I laugh. These are things that make me laugh. Do you order from Temu? You know, Brooke orders from Temu. We haven't tried an air conditioner yet, but we've ordered some things that we expected to be a little bigger than they were. We've also got some good things too. And she orders from air all the time. And we haven't seen any tariffs on anything yet. So I don't know if that's coming or not. But we haven't noticed the difference in price. But if you do get an air conditioner from Temu, be aware that it might be a little smaller than you believe. Again, the Crying Jordan thing. So these are, if you would have like different, you know, when you like click a Facebook post, you want to like it. Everyone should know this. So you have the Crying Jordan, which is funny to me. And then, of course, you have Joe Pesci. So if somebody would post something funny, you'll be able to click at, ha, 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 you dumb motherfucker, you. You know, good fellow voice. This is funny. I think I might have shared this with my last members only. A white man. Oh, fuck. Hold on a second. Every time I go to that this stupid box here, it goes back to that. This is funny. A white man's face when you apologize, but when you're apologizing, but you already called the police. I think it's funny. Sorry, bud, but the police are on their way already. Me, if I ever get a promotion, which I wouldn't take, I'm good where I am. The fucker in charge of you fucking fucks would be appropriate language for the fire department, and probably most police departments, and probably a lot of other places that we work too. This I love. This is the Bob Ross, but it's the Leonardo DiCaprio face from Django Unchained. And it's a real picture of what Puff Daddy looked like, according to the trial painter, who must have been the same trial painter that painted Junior Soprano. If you remember that episode, as well, Deep Soprano's cut, but this face just kills me every time. They put on a bunch of shit. This guy, I don't even know who he is, but you've seen his face before. This is just him with a bunch. He's like in all kind of memes, and they just give him a bunch of hair, and I just think it's hilarious. I don't know. He looks like someone's nice grandpa or something. But you've seen him. I don't even know who he is or where that original meme came from, but they use it for all kind of stuff now, and I just think it's absolutely hilarious. So liking to leave on good, make you laugh when we leave here on some good terms. Let's see what we got. Oh, Paulie got something here for us, talking about BTK. He left him during an overnight camping trip to spice the time himself, take Polaroids, tied up tight. The kid's supposed to be watching. Oh, my God. And I never understood. Like, he got off on pictures of himself, which was, I don't know, bizarre. Oh, okay. I never read her book. Ruckus, that means a story. Or a tale. True. True crime newbie. I've never talked to you. Maybe I have. Maybe I know you and I don't think I do, but I like your stuff too. Excuse me. Roar wants Ruckus to time out Frank. Gibbo's the Temu Ruckus. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, boy. I enjoy you guys are funny. You are. Like, Delphi's over for me, but I do thoroughly enjoy, as long as nothing crazy happens and no one does nothing stupid. It's all good banter. But I definitely recommend checking out I'll Be Frank, Gibbo's channel. Obviously Ruckus. So Ruckus get back to doing some stuff here on his channel. Hopefully you're feeling better there. Everything's going good. It's probably hot as shit down there right now, Ruckus, huh? Good humidity though. Good arthritis weather. You're probably out there shooting goddamn 40 on a front nine. I shot a 45 the other day on a back nine of a pretty hard course, and for me that was really good. And I was about 10 gluten-free beers in, so our Father's Day outing. But I hope that you learned something tonight. If you watch this video later or have questions later, please leave it question. If I have it, answer as best you can. If I can't answer you, I will try to find a resource for you to answer, to try to get you an answer to the question. But the whole psychological thing always is just, it's even to this day and different things in life. I just really intrigued by it. Flora 4 website, things still going on. Backdoor. I actually I'll have to send it to Jinx. I saw an interesting post on one of the local pages. Someone went after an heirs family member who's probably not the right person to go after, but it tells you what the word on the street is possibly out there. So, yeah, great bike ride at Libby and Abbey Park this weekend. I was able to comment on a couple of Facebook things there. That's fantastic. Keep doing what you're doing. They're the strongest people I know. There's a small but vocal group of people trying to tear them down, but it says more about them, who the insults are coming from. So let them have it. It's a free country. There's enough fleas to go around to land on piles of shit. So anyways, I'm going to have a drink. I'm going to see some of you shortly here for the members only. I'm going to go outside and rip a Hita. Oh, well, what are we talking about there? I'm not even sure what we're talking about. Oh, no. It was on a I know, yeah, it was on a Facebook group for Flora that I'm a member of. There's people were selling shit or cats lost and stuff like that. But sometimes you get information from there, and it was Flora, I'll try anything. I was willing to go undercover one time in a fire station with a mic on, wired up by a creator that I don't talk to anymore. So maybe it was good that I didn't do that. But I was willing to. Yeah, Jinx. It's totally different. I'll share it in my Discord. It ain't a big deal. It's just like, the FBI still watching your dad. I think is what it said. It was just some random person. That's my Indiana accent, by the way. All right, everybody. I'm going to leave you to it. I hope you have a good night. I hope it isn't storming or it's cool where you are. And maybe a night swim or got the AC kicking. Take it easy on a Tuesday. Garbage night here tonight. So I got to get my stuff out in a little while. And I'll see you all in a few minutes here for the members only if you're popping over. We were talking about fire stories and stuff like that. We have another guy retiring Friday, so I have a bunch of old pictures that I'll show you, and we'll hang out for a little while. But organized versus disorganized, serial killers, why? I tried to explain that to you as best I could. We could do 100 of these shows. Leave any questions or anything, Kevlar148@hotmail.com. Anything on Flora, anything, send it to me, even if you think it's bullshit. I'll listen to anything. I've gotten crazy stuff, and I appreciate the people that sent it because they thought it was, it was something. So, yeah, we'll have a live coming up with that. I'm kind of working in the back with some stuff with our local case right now, but Flora is always in the front burner for me. So, all right, I'll see some of you soon. If not, I'll try to get back on later this week and get more at least once a week, maybe twice a week, because there's a lot of stuff that I want to talk about and cover, and get back to that serial killer series where we deep dive one person each weekend or something like that, because I think that's the best way to get it all the information out, ask questions and learn from each other like we did here tonight. I appreciate Paulie Walnuts with the story of BTK at a camp, Boy Scout camp, and he got caught hanging himself, asphyxiating himself. That's wild. But it makes perfect sense. I bet you he was embarrassed, but he probably was able to talk his way out of it. Smart guy. Thank you, CJK. Yes, it was absolutely beautiful. They were worried about the weather, but man, people showed up out there. By and large, the people out there are good people. Midwestern accent. I have some people say Pennsylvania is the Midwest, but it's more like the left East Coast. We're kind of like, there's like a strip that goes up the country, and that strip, we're all kind of a little bit different. But anyways, I'm going to leave you to it. See some of you shortly, and have a great Tuesday night. I'll talk to you soon. Will you have a drink again? All right, everybody. I love you all. Take care. Coach Kev.